Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Friday. Today is Friday, September 5th. And let me start off today by thanking you all for all the kind notes that you sent in really writing about this hand procedure. I got the injections the other day. And today, after this video, in a couple hours, I'm going to go and apparently they inject these enzymes in and it starts to break down the whatever. And then today, break it back into place, that pinky, crack it back into place. I don't know. It sounds like a whole lot of fun. One of the people there said that it sounds like a carrot breaking. I'm looking forward to that. But you know what? I'm incredibly grateful that I have insurance. I can get this procedure. I'm incredibly grateful that a lot of people wrote in. I'm incredibly grateful that I can be there for friends, one of whom has cancer right now, I talked about the other day, and other things. So I'm a lucky guy. I'm just blessed. And I got to, parent-teacher night for my son yesterday. I got to go to that and meet his great teachers, and they're all passionate young people. And I love nothing more exciting than passionate young people who aren't too ideologically on the left, because that's not a good thing. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about basically what looks like a broken market. Gold hit 3,600 for the first time in history. And why should I point out that a record high price for gold again, especially as we've had 26 of them since the President Trump has taken office? It's because we're watching something very historic happening, and most people aren't going to realize that until after the fact. What we're seeing here is really insights into the broader financial landscapes. These records, the reason I'm talking about gold so much, it's not just about gold. We're watching an evolution in how foreign central banks and big investors are managing risk. They are basically getting out of long-term U.S. treasuries and buying gold. So this is a really big thing happening behind the markets, under the surface, whatever metaphor you want to use. And it really speaks to something that we've been talking about here ever since Midnight in America, when we first started to observe in a big way. When friends of mine who work at bond desks on Wall Street saying people don't want to buy our bonds, they don't want to buy our long bonds. Because at the end of the day, think about yourself. If you had $100,000, what would you rather do? Would you rather buy a short-term U.S. Treasury bond at 4.25%, 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, or 4.2%? Or would you rather lend the government money for 30 years and only get 5% on your money? It's crazy. The government is going to keep printing money. There's deficit spending like crazy. We're spending $1 trillion last year on interest payments alone. It's bigger than a defense budget. And the president's big, beautiful bill definitely ain't going to help that. Look, think about it. It's a definition of a broken market, and broken meaning that broken in the old way of looking at it. So this is the definition of a broken market. The old way of analyzing this, it's changing. This is a new regime we have. And I saw billionaire investor Ray Dalio on television the other day getting interviewed. And he's talking about this financial heart attack. When he says this is coming in within 3 years in Trump's administration, history is any judge. I don't know. I don't like timing things like that. What I can say is that we have serious imbalances right now, and that debt is causing a big problem. We don't want to get into a situation where we are the only ones buying our debt. Because guys and gals, listen to me. Please pay close attention to this. Because nobody wants to buy, big buyers don't want to buy our long-term debt, our 30-year debt. Okay? What we're being forced to do is sell short-term debt, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year debt, and roll it over. So instead of just selling $1 trillion worth of debt a year because we're running $1 trillion deficit, now every year we're adding a couple $1 trillion that have to be rolled over. So now, instead of going for $1 trillion in debt, we have to do $4 trillion or $3 trillion because last year they didn't want it, the year before they didn't want it. So we cut piling up the amount, it's snowballing the amount of short-term debt we roll over every year. By some estimates, next year we're going to have to roll over $7 to $9 trillion in debt. Who's going to buy that? Who's going to buy that? The only people that are going to buy that are short-term debt buyers like me, because no long-term debt buyer is going to buy that. And look, the bond market is telling you this. Look, at the end of the day, September 17th, the Fed is expected 90% chance the Fed's going to cut rates by 25 basis points. And look, there's a 90% chance. Those are the betting odds. But we have rising treasury yields. as the Fed is cutting rates, 30 years rising, okay? The 30-year is telling you, we don't care what the Fed does at the short term of the interest rate curve. We don't care. Good for you. The yield curve can do what it wants over there, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. The Fed can control short-term rates. We're not paying up for long-term rates. We're not lending you money for 30 years at 5%. So what you're seeing is long-term investors, as an effort to manage risk, they're just selling 30-year treasuries. The rates are going up, even as the Fed's lowering rates. It's not a good scenario. It's not a good scenario, guys. It's not a good scenario. I'm not talking about an ordinary bear market, okay? If it was an ordinary bear market, I'd sleepwalk through that. I could tell you, make a left here, make a right there, make a left here, make a right there. Those instructions and directions are easy. Come on, been through many of those. This is something different. This is something different. We're talking about a systematic problem here, very big problem. And all these little canaries in the coal mine are really showing up. And it's easy not to pay attention to this with the stock market doing so well. But individual investors pay attention to the stock market. Governments pay attention to the bond market. It's like that old saying about amateurs study battles, professionals study logistics when we're talking about warfare. Anyway, so I just wanted to say, I don't mean to ruin your weekend or give you bad vibes. This is very important. Please, for those of you who picked up Midnight in America, start reading the back end. Reread that, because everything we talked about, that is happening right now in slow motion. Anyway, that's all I have. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next week.